everyone, it's me Luthfia. Today we are going to learn about language assessment principle and issue. There are three topics that we are going to learn. The first is defining test and assessment. The second is principles of language assessment. And the third is issue in language assessment. Let's start with test and assessment. So, do you know what is the difference between assessment and test? So, assessment is the systematic process of documenting and using empirical data to measure knowledge, skill, attitudes, and belief. On the other hand, test is used to examine someone's knowledge of something to determine what that person knows or has learned. So the difference between test and assessment, a test is a product that measures a particular behavior or set of objectives. Meanwhile, assessment is seen as a procedure instead of a product. There are two types of assessment, formal assessment and informal assessment. Formal assessment are formal ways of finding out how much a student has learned or improved during the instructional period. These include exams, diagnostic tests, achievement tests, screening, and intelligence tests. All formal assessment have standardized methods of administering the test. However, informal assessment are tools that can judge and evaluate students' performance and skills level without making use of standardized tests and scoring patterns. There are no standardized tools to measure or evaluate the performance in these assessment tools. Principle of language assessment. There are some principles of language assessment that the teacher must consider. The first is practicality. Practicality means the test is easy to design, easy to administer, and easy to score. The second is reliability. It means that the test should give the same result for similar groups of students and with different people marking. The third is validity. Validity is the extent to which a test measures what it claims to measure. The fourth is authenticity. A test will be authentic if the language in it is as natural as possible so that the student or test takers can understand and deal with it effectively. The fifth is washback. Washback effect refers to the impact of testing, whether positive or negative, on teaching practices, curriculum design, and learning behaviors. Kind of tests. There are some kinds of tests. What are they? The first is proficiency test. So proficiency test is a test which measure how much of language a person knows or has learned, or a test to check someone's language competence. For example, TOEFL test or IELTS test. The second is placement test. So placement test is a test to determine students' academic ability in order to assign them to an appropriate class or course. Third is diagnostic test. So a diagnostic test is a test that helps the teacher and students identify problems that they have with the language. The next is achievement test. An achievement test evaluates a student's language knowledge to show how their learning has progressed. The last is aptitude test. An aptitude test doesn't measure how well someone uses a specific language, but how well they acquire language skills in general. Issues in language assessment. There are some issues in language assessment. The first is large-scale tests of language ability. A form of national or cross-national standardized testing that provide a snapshot of learning achievement for a group of learners in a given year and in a limited number of learning domains. It is generally focused on a limited range of learning dimensions and addresses a defined number of the multiple purposes of education. It may not measure other variables such as classroom and school settings. The second issue is authenticity. Authenticity is one of the principles in conducting a test or assessment. An authentic task in any assessment implies that the test taker or the student must engage in actual performance of specified linguistic objective. However, creating authentic tasks within formal assessment procedure presents some dilemmas. Authentic tasks can be complex and lack practicality. They are difficult to create and to evaluate because they often involve reliability issues. Another problem raised by authentic assessment tasks is how to judge the difficulty of a task. An important factor is standardized testing. Authentic tasks are rarely confined to one single level of difficulty across phonological, synthetic, discourse, and pragmatic planes. The next issue is performance-based assessment. Performance-based assessment include group project, experiment, problem solving, and etc. However, these activities or this assessment is time consuming and therefore expensive, but the losses in practicality are made up for in higher validity. Students are tested as they actually perform the behavior itself. In technical terms, higher content validity is achieved as learners are measured in the process of performing the objective of a lesson or course. The next issue is expanding the IQ concept of intelligence. So, what is intelligence? Intelligence was once viewed strictly as the ability to perform linguistic and logical mathematical problem solving. Standard theories of intelligence on which standardized IQ tests are based were expanded to include inter and intrapersonal, spatial, kinesthetic, contextual, and emotional intelligences, among others. This new conceptualization of intelligence coincided with a sense of both freedom and responsibility in our testing agenda. We are somewhat freed from exclusive reliance on time, discrete point, analytical tests in measuring language. That's all about today's material. If you have any comment or question, you can write it in the comment section below. See you in the next video. Bye.